Have you ever seen a spinning top? It goes round and round, a blur of motion. Now imagine that spinning top is miles high and made of wind. That's a tornado. These storms are one of nature's most amazing and mysterious shows. They appear from dark storm clouds, reaching down like a giant swirling finger. For centuries, people have watched them with fear and wonder. What is really happening inside that spinning column of air? Scientists, storm chasers, curious minds like us. Let's pull back the curtain on these weather wonders. Tornadoes are like giant vacuum cleaners in the sky, much more powerful. Small and thin rope tornadoes, huge, dark wedge tornadoes more than a mile wide. They dance across the land sometimes for just a few minutes, sometimes for more than an hour. Their path can be unpredictable and dangerous. People see them from far away and seek shelter, but the mystery remains. What secrets inside those windy walls? We're going on a scientific adventure to explore the heart of the storm. We're about to go on a journey, safely, right into the very center of a tornado. So how does one of these giant whirlwinds get started? It's like baking a cake. You need the right ingredients. For a tornado, the ingredients come from the atmosphere. The first thing you need is warm, wet air near the ground. Think of a hot, sticky summer day. This air is light and wants to rise just like a hot air balloon. The second ingredient you need is cool, dry air high up in the sky. When you have this combination with warm air below and cool air above, the atmosphere becomes very unstable. The warm air starts to rise very fast, creating a powerful upward current called an updraft. This rising air is the engine of a big thunderstorm, which is the parent of a tornado. But just having rising air isn't enough to make a tornado. You need one more crucial ingredient: wind shear. Wind shear is when the wind at different heights is blowing in different directions or at different speeds. Imagine you have a long tube of Play-Doh. If you roll your bottom hand one way and your top hand the other way, the Play-Doh will start to spin in the middle. The same thing happens with the air. Wind shear makes the air in the storm start to roll like a long tube, parallel to the ground. Now we have a giant invisible tube of air spinning horizontally inside the thunderstorm. The strong current of rising air can lift one end of the spinning tube up into the sky. As it lifts, it also tilts the tube of air, so now it is spinning vertically. Let's imagine we could safely step inside a tornado. The very first thing we would notice is the wind. The wind inside a tornado is not just strong, it's unbelievably fast and chaotic. Scientists classify tornadoes on the enhanced Fujita, or EF scale. EF0. An EF0 tornado has winds of about 65 to 85 miles per hour, which is strong enough to break tree branches. EF5. In a powerful EF5 tornado, the winds can scream at speeds of over 200 miles per hour. That's faster than the fastest race cars in the world. This wind doesn't just blow in one direction, it swirls and changes direction in an instant. The second thing you would feel is a sudden and dramatic drop in air pressure. Normally, the air around us is always pushing on our bodies with a certain weight or pressure. We don't feel it because we are used to it. But inside a tornado, the air pressure is much, much lower. This happens because the fast-spinning air creates a vacuum effect in the center, much like when you spin water in a bucket and a hole opens in the middle. This pressure drop is so quick and intense that it can make your ears pop loudly, similar to when you are on an airplane that is taking off or landing very quickly. This low pressure also contributes to the tornado's destructive power. The combination of the violent wind pushing on the outside walls and the low pressure pulling from the inside creates immense stress on the building. The center of a strong tornado, sometimes called the vortex core, can be strangely calm. However, this calm center is surrounded by a wall of the most violent winds imaginable. It would be like standing in the quiet eye of a hurricane. But this eye is only a few feet across and is surrounded by a blender of wind and debris moving at hundreds of miles per hour. If you were inside a tornado, it would be an assault on your senses, especially your hearing. A tornado is not quiet. Many people who have heard one up close say it sounds like a freight train, a jet engine right next to them. This isn't just one sound, but a combination of many noises. You have the roar of the wind itself, a deep and constant rumble that shakes the ground. You also have the sound of things being torn apart. The cracking of trees, the screeching of metal, the crashing of buildings. All these sounds merge into one deafening roar that would make it impossible to hear anything else. Visually, the inside of a tornado would be a confusing and terrifying place. It would be very dark. The tornado funnel is made of thick clouds, dust, dirt, water. It would be like being in the middle of a thick fog at night, but this darkness would be filled with constant flashes of light. Tornadoes are born from severe thunderstorms, frequent and intense lightning strikes all around you and even within the funnel itself. These flashes would briefly light up the swirling chaos, revealing a nightmare of flying objects before plunging you back into darkness. The air inside would be thick and heavy. You wouldn't be breathing clear air. It would be a suffocating mix of rain, hail, dirt, dust. The wind would be so strong that it would be impossible to stand or even breathe properly. Hailstones, sometimes as large as grapefruits, could be flying around at the speed of bullets. It's an environment where the very air has become a weapon, filled with projectiles and overpowering force. One of the most dangerous parts of a tornado is not actually the wind itself, but, well, what the wind carries along with it. As a tornado moves across the ground, it acts a bit like a giant blender, just sucking up everything in its path. This creates what is known as a debris cloud. At the base of the tornado, you wouldn't just see wind and rain. You'd see a swirling mass of dirt trees, pieces of buildings, cars, anything else that wasn't tied down. These objects don't just gently float in the wind either. They're turned into high-speed projectiles or shrapnel. Even a simple piece of wood can become as deadly as a spear. The variety of objects found inside a tornado's debris cloud is really astounding. Storm chasers have seen tornadoes pick up and shred almost anything you can imagine. This includes smaller things like mail, photographs, personal items, which surprisingly can be carried for hundreds of miles, but it also includes much larger objects. Cars, trucks, farm tractors can be lifted into the air and tossed around like toys. The wind is so powerful that it can tear these heavy objects apart, twisting metal, shattering glass until they're just unrecognizable. The debris cloud is, honestly, a chaotic, grinding storm of destruction. The debris cloud also changes the appearance of the tornado. A tornado that forms over water is called a waterspout and looks white or clear because it's mostly water spray. But when a tornado moves over land, it picks up dirt and soil, which is why most tornadoes look dark and brown or gray. Tornadoes are full of surprises, and scientists are still learning new things about them all the time. One of the most amazing facts is that not all tornadoes spin in the same direction. In the northern hemisphere, where the United States is, almost all tornadoes, about 99% of them, spin counterclockwise. But very rarely, a tornado will form that spins clockwise. These are called anticyclonic tornadoes, and they are like the left-handed cousins of the tornado world. They are often weaker, but they are a fascinating exception to the rule. Here's another cool fact. A tornado can have more than one funnel. Sometimes, a very large and powerful tornado can have smaller suction vortices that rotate around the main funnel. These are like mini tornadoes within the big tornado. This is called a multi-vortex tornado. These smaller vortices can be even more destructive than the main funnel because their wind speeds add to the overall rotation, creating small zones of extreme damage. So when you see a giant wedge tornado, it might actually be a family of smaller, super-fast twisters dancing together. Have you ever wondered how far a tornado can travel? Most tornadoes are on the ground for only a few minutes and travel a few miles. But the record for the longest-lasting tornado is held by the Tri-State Tornado of 1925. This monster storm traveled for 219 miles across 3 states: Missouri, Illinois, Indiana. It was on the ground for about 3.5 hours and was responsible for incredible destruction. This shows that while most tornadoes are short-lived, some can become long-lasting giants that travel for incredible distances, a truly terrifying thought. Finally, what is the strangest thing a tornado has ever done? There are many bizarre stories. In one case, a tornado reportedly picked up a jar of pickles and carried it for miles before setting it down unbroken. In another, a tornado in England in 1981 was reported to have rained down frogs. This likely happened because the tornado passed over a pond or a marsh, sucking up the water and the small animals in it, and then dropping them miles away. While it is extremely rare, a few people have claimed to have been inside a tornado and lived to tell the tale. Their stories give us a chilling, first-hand look at the chaos within. One of the most famous accounts comes from a man named Will Keller, a farmer from Kansas, back in 1928. He was running to his storm cellar when he turned to look at the approaching tornado. He said it was so close that he had no choice but to look up into it. He described seeing an opening in the center of the funnel, about 50 feet wide, 100 feet wide, and it was strangely calm and empty. Keller said the walls of the tornado were made of a spinning cloud, and he could see constant flashes of lightning illuminating the inside, like a searchlight. He didn't describe a deafening roar, but rather a sizzling, hissing sound, which he compared to the buzz of a beehive. He said he could see small clouds forming and breaking away within the main funnel. He was able to get into his cellar just before the tornado passed over, completely destroying his home. Another incredible story comes from Matt Suter, a teenager in Missouri who, in 2006, was swept up by a tornado. He was in a mobile home when the storm hit. He was knocked unconscious and woke up in a field nearly a quarter of a mile away. He had only minor injuries. Doctors who studied his case believe he was likely lifted up by the tornado's winds, carried through the air, and then set down again relatively gently. This is incredibly lucky and almost unheard of. Most people who are lifted by a tornado do not survive the fall or the impact with debris. These stories, while amazing, highlight the unpredictable nature of a tornado. Survival in such a situation is a matter of pure luck. These accounts are not a reason to be less afraid of tornadoes. Instead, they are powerful reminders that the inside of a tornado is a place of extreme forces, and the only smart thing to do is to avoid being there at all costs by seeking proper shelter. Knowing about the power of tornadoes is important for one big reason. It helps us stay safe. When you hear a tornado warning siren or get an alert on your phone, it means a tornado has been spotted and you need to take shelter immediately. The best place to be is in a specially designed storm shelter or a basement. These underground spaces are the safest because they are protected from the wind and flying debris. If you are in a basement, get under something sturdy like a heavy table or a workbench to protect yourself from anything that might fall from the floor above. What if you don't have a basement? You can still protect yourself. Go to the lowest floor of your home. Find a small interior room with no windows like a bathroom or a closet. The more walls between you and the outside, the better. Get into the bathtub and cover yourself with a mattress or thick blankets. This can protect you from flying glass and other debris if the house is damaged. The key is to put as many barriers as possible between you and the storm. If you are in a car or a mobile home when a tornado is approaching, you are in a very dangerous place. These can be easily tossed and destroyed by tornado winds. Do not try to outrun a tornado in your car. Instead, you should get out immediately. Your best option is to try and find a sturdy building to shelter in. If that's not possible, you should lie down in a low area, like a ditch or a ravine away from the car. After the tornado passes, you still need to be very careful. There may be downed power lines, which are extremely dangerous. There could be gas leaks, sharp objects like nails and broken glass. By having a safety plan and practicing it with your family, you can be prepared. Knowing what to do is the best way to protect yourself and your loved ones from these powerful storms.